So that ties into my next question. How important is the course book?
Well,
for you, it's very important.
Yeah, I like the book. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah,
you like
I think if you're too focused on the course book, you can get it gets very boring for the
Yes,
students.
I agree.
I did a class. I did a class recently where I was really focused on the course book, and I found it didn't really work because there wasn't enough variety in the material and in the type of. I think there's nothing better than probably mixing up like real life material and then
Absolutely
the course book. So you have structure, but you also have a bit of variety.
Absolutely.
And you should flow though. Like you should. I'll take what's in the book. Say if it's like whatever vocabulary or whatever, and instead of doing the book, do mix and matches with them or use the board. So it's good to make sure that whatever supplemental stuff you're doing, it flows with what you're doing, right? So the book is, because they're pretty well organized. Like the books we're using are quite good, right?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just to reinforce that, because I observed one of Tiffany's classes where she just took the vocabulary that was presented in the book, and they weren't looking at the book at all, and they didn't know that it came from the book, but she took that vocabulary which was relevant to the unit and put cue cards on the table, and they were trying to find out, you know, what words went with it. So she had 2 sets of cue cards, and everything was taken exactly from the book, but instead of doing it as an exercise, it was done, and everybody was around the table, which was rather nice. So it was a communicative activity, because they were all saying, oh, I think that matches with that, and that works with that, and it really worked really well. They were discussing it together, and it was a puzzle. And so what was in the book, quite a boring, ordinary
Yeah, it was horrible.
exercise, well, as it
turned out to be fun.
For the CBC kids who are all not business people but artists.
Yes. Well, that's right. I mean, if it were an academic, then they would just say, okay, we have to learn this vocabulary. Let's just do it in the easiest way. We don't need to mix and match and play games with it. But depending on the group, you do it in a different way. And it was really, really fun. I mean, I saw them. I couldn't believe that it was business vocabulary that they were actually doing, because it was a puzzle. It was great.
I remember that was one of the tricks I had too when I was teaching, is I'd always have an envelope with little pieces of paper. They were blank. And then, you know, that would allow me to reinforce whatever word, whether we played charade, whether we created sentences, whether, you know, whatever. But that was one time-saving preparation activity where I would milk that, and the beauty of it is when I use that word, I would put it in another envelope and say, these are the new words that this student is learning or this group is learning, and I'd always make sure to bring it back, because it's not a question of just showing them once. It's in your repertoire. Well, we saw that word. Don't you know it yet? No, it was my job to keep reinforcing it, and the beauty of that is I had different envelopes for different students. Seems easy and old-fashioned, not very technological.
I think the topics in many of the course books are so broad anyway that you can take them anyway. And so, but I think it is nice to go, well, for us that actually put the books on the program, it's really nice when the teacher has gone chronologically through. Whatever she's done in each unit doesn't really matter, but you know, we know that you've got to unit 5 and you discuss careers or business plans or something like that, and what you do with it could be anything at all. And with different groups you'd probably do different things, and it would go in different directions with different groups, but the topics I think are broad enough to
They're a good springboard, as Terry said, you know, for building around it.